Welcome to the Washdown Podcast, episode number 34. I am your host, Jeremy Green. With me today, my co-host, Chris Nelson, and our producer, James Moran. And today, our guest will be Rich Longwith. He's a 20-year veteran of the fire service, also a small business owner for over 30 years. And today, we're going to be talking with him about some extreme trauma from his personal life and how he has managed to deal with it, the lessons he's learned, and how he has overcome those issues. It's a really great episode, really great conversation, some words of wisdom in there. So sit back, relax. Episode number 34 of the Washdown Podcast.
Culture of
Star
Wars.
And,
you can't go wrong with Star Wars.
I agree. It's been a huge part of my life since I was a kid. It's probably molded my life.
So are you kind of like me, where Star Wars is Star Wars? Doesn't matter if it's the originals, prequels, sequels.
I'm a fan of all the originals, and The Mandalorian saved, I think, that whole genre because of Jon Favreau.
Yes,
I
fully agree with you, but I'm just saying Star Wars is Star Wars.
Yeah,
I watch them all.
If they put Star Wars on it, I'll be there. Me and you will both be in the same line.
Yeah.
It's like I don't care if it's the Clone War cartoon,
which was awesome, by the way.
It was awesome.
Have you guys watched The Bad Batch yet?
Not yet.
I have not.
I haven't either.
It's on my list to watch. I'm just kind of waiting because I hate the one episode a week thing. And then, we're going to do like 7 seasons. And I'm like, crap.
Right.
You never know when that next season's coming out.
I've been watching Invincible on Amazon Prime. Dude, it is so violent that, I feel bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one's that? Is that the...
I need to check this out.
Like Omni-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah,
dude, people getting ripped in half, faces getting torn off, basically heads crushed.
It sounds awful, but what you're doing is promoting me to watch it. It is, but I'm trying to think of the series that me and my wife had gotten into, which, Chris, you had mentioned how they do seasons now. It's like it used to be, you run a season, then 9 months to a year later, a new season comes out.
Yeah.
Now, it's like sometimes it'll take 2 years.
Yeah.
But circling back, it's we got hooked on Ozark and all the typical stuff that everybody tend to like. And but my wife's not a science fiction person, so I'm usually on my own with that. So I sit there silently with my dogs watching my nerd stuff. So.
Have you, speaking of violence, the fight scenes in the new Black Widow movie?
haven't seen it yet.
Second to none.
Really?
I wasn't super impressed with that. I watched it the other day.
Scenes?
The fight scenes were okay. I think more what I'm kind of been out of shape about, and I don't want to get too caught up on it, but is what they did to Taskmaster. They didn't stay anywhere close to true to the comic books.
True.
Or the cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
They totally went a total different direction.
Still badass, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, have you guys seen Black Widow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet. Me and my wife, Mel, we've been trying to get back out and go to the theaters. And so we'll go there just for something to do. And a good movie is an action movie. It's called Nobody.
I just bought that. I haven't watched it yet.
It is fantastic. Yeah. It's Bob Odenkirk. And he's Better Call Saul. From Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and he's always played a comedic role. Well, now he's an action hero, and it works on every level. It really does. It speaks to the common man of this guy who's stuck in this rut in life. And, of course, he's got this secret background that nobody knows, and it finally comes just bursting out of him. And I can see at least 2 or 3 more movies out of this.
Sweet.
I heard the rumor that it's supposed to take place in the same world as John Wick.
That's exactly right. It followed. I think the guy who made Nobody is the guy who made John Wick.
Yeah.
And it is, if you like John Wick, you'll like this.
Yeah.
But
okay, then.
He's your everyman.
Yeah.
That finally his home life, his business life, everything is kind of just crumpled. And he's like, I've had it, and this is what I'm doing now. And he's an all-in type of guy. And his dad in it is played by Doc from Back to the Future.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd, yeah. and I don't want to ruin it. I'll say this: pleasant surprise when just pay attention to Christopher Lloyd's character, because you don't see it coming.
Yeah,
nice.
It's good stuff. So
yeah.
So
No spoilers for that.
Now I got a question. I haven't seen it.
Don't
talk about the movie, just fight scenes. Who do you think had better fight scenes, John Wick or Black Widow?
For my taste personally, John Wick.
Okay.
So that's just my personal taste. I mean, if you look at, if you're going to talk about superhero movies, then yeah, the fight scenes in Black Widow are awesome, and but John Wick is more realistic.
Good point. They're not superhero fights.
Yeah, it's not a superhero fight. Get
it in, get it done.
Yeah, he's not jumping out of a floating city and bouncing off of shit as it's falling through the sky. Right. That's not realism.
Don't ruin that for me.
Well, come on. Yeah. Well, John Wick is wearing a suit that's bulletproof.
That could happen.
Now, let me ask a question.
You've heard of Kevlar.
It's a nerd question here, but would you feel the same if those roles were switched? John Wick was a female and Black Widow was a... I mean, does that have any play in that to you? Because sometimes female characters aren't accepted sometimes in these roles.
I thought they did it really well.
No, I don't think so.
Right.
Because I have no problem. For me, you can't really compare the two.
Right.
For me, it's two different divisions. Like I would compare John Wick to Rambo or something like that.
Right.
That's more based in reality, at least.
So Atomic Blonde. There you go. I think that's kind of what Rich was going for. The movie Atomic Blonde.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's more of a John Wick character and a female lead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And which I thought the fight scenes in that were great.
I agree.
Yeah.
One thing I did like about Black Widow is they didn't really over-sexualize the females in it. 'Cause that's what the whole movie is based around females.
Yeah.
But they weren't constantly zooming in and tits and ass and all that. There was just badass fight scenes.
Well, see, and Marvel has been doing that. If you paid attention, Marvel's been making the females sexy, but not
through their actions,
dirty sexy.
It's
a different type of sexy.
Yeah.
And even their costumes aren't revealing.
Yeah, well, and that's changed through time.
Well, I think Wonder Woman was the big start on that. I felt like.
Well, and I'll go.
Could be.
I agree with you, and I'll go a step back. I'm probably the oldest guy in here. I'm 55. I never missed the series Wonder Woman growing up with
Linda Carter,
because to this day I think I still have a crush on her, and it was probably because of the costume.
She was in that second Wonder Woman in the very end, and I'm just like, damn, girl.
Yeah, she's aged
Still
well.
got it.
Yeah. When she was in Super Troopers.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow, you look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we here?
I was trying to text her, and it wasn't going. I don't know why it wasn't going through.
Yeah, but I was a kid, and my attraction was towards not the fact that she was just beautiful, but that she was a superhero. And growing up in that era, you didn't get a lot of superhero stuff other than through the comics, through the written page. There was anything they tried film wise fell short, and I was like, well, this is something, and I enjoyed it. So, but I know that there's been that push to have more female strong characters, and we were talking with Star Wars earlier with Rey, and instead of Luke Skywalker, with Rey, and.
So my problem with the new Star Wars is, though, I think they cheaped out and they basically use the same plot.
Yeah.
That's why I love Rogue One so much. Because even
Rogue One was awesome.
Yeah.
She was a badass in that.
Rogue One is the standalone from all the new movies that I actually enjoyed. But the rest of them were just oh, well, that's Return of the Jedi. That's Empire.
And how can we all, no one can disagree, Darth Vader at the end of Rogue One coming down that corridor was the greatest cinematic thing I've ever. I've watched that on YouTube 10 million times.
There's a video of like
that. And you know what? I like Luke Skywalker's too.
Yeah.
Oh, and The Mandalorian?
Yeah. Everybody's seen it by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, what?
As soon as I saw the X-Wing, I got all excited. I'm like, oh, he's coming. He's coming.
That's right.
His tail was wagging.
Yeah, it was. It was bad.
Yes.
Then you saw the green lightsaber.
Yep.
I saw this video that I don't know. It must have been after the premiere because they were showing it in a bar, but it was Rogue One, and like the bar was packed, and all these guys were like, anticipation. The scene where just his lightsaber lights up the corridor,
Yes.
and the bar loses it. They're just like, ah!
It's like goosebumps
from
that because it's like you done screwed up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you finally got to see Darth Vader actually whoop ass, and it's like he's been in fights before, but in some of the movie or the canons, like in the books, there's been things where Darth Vader can put himself in a trance and fight for days on end, and you never got to see that. And I was like, okay, this is who this guy is.
Even
the
lightsaber play was better too.
Yeah,
it's just in the old movies. It just wasn't.
Yeah,
technology wasn't
it was
there
anemic.
yet, but
it was anemic. But as a kid, I ate it up. I look back and I'm like, they did what they could. But
I'd like to see, because they're doing the Obi-Wan show now. And I think that's going to be great. You're going to see Obi-Wan's adventures after Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
And I'd like to see what Vader did. Because all the tests that Palpatine put him through and all the, like him having to go get his lightsaber. Have you seen the Darth Vader comic that's out now?
I have not yet.
So every once in a while I see something on Facebook. Like he had to go and kill a Jedi that had survived Order 66 without a lightsaber.
Wow. So he was being trained to be.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's probably how he lost his other arm.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, he would have.
Yeah.
So he lost the fight. He would have lost, but then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to kill this whole town with this by breaking a dam," and then that Jedi was like, "Nope."
Yeah.
And then Vader killed him.
Ah, awesome.
Gotcha.
All right.
And that's why the Sith won.
That's right.
They went that extra mile.
Yeah, willing to do what it takes to win.
That's right.
Nothing is off.
What are you willing to do to win?
Yeah, what are you committed at this level?
Speaking of committed to this level, so Rich, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's get into this.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say thank you guys for considering me and having me up. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, you were the last option.
I kind of assumed that, but
so look, here
I
was
like
my
to pretend.
I like how polite he was. That's the politest person that's been on the show yet.
Here was my main concern. I didn't know if we could go widescreen enough to fit your head on screen.
Is a big concern for a lot of people because I said I wanted my mural up on the station wall at my station, and they said they can't make it small enough to fit it in there. It's, I've always been aware that I've had a huge head, but never more aware than when I became a firefighter.
Here's your big boy helmet.
Yeah. So do you have a special helmet?
No, it's the same one for everybody, but I always joke.
We had a guy in our class. They had to order him a special helmet.
Because his head's big?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I need to meet this kid.
Like a quarter of your size. He's off the job now.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Oh, that sucks.
Hit his head on something too many times.
Neck injury, couldn't hold it up. But I always joke when they asked, like when we did our mask fittings or something like that. I'm like, obviously I'm a small.
Obviously, yeah.
Exactly. Just give me the tiniest one you have. Hopefully it'll still fit. But all that joking aside, which I enjoy, I love to bust balls and joke around with everybody. I'll tell you a little about myself. My name's Rich Longwith. And been a firefighter for 20 years. FAO now, which is a fancy word for driver. Married for 17 years. Divorced. That really shook up my life. Had 2 kids with my first wife. Met my second wife on eHarmony. Been married now for 7 years.
How'd that work?
eHarmony?
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this. Here's the way I put it. When I was really lost. When my wife was, I guess she was just, I didn't realize it. She was tired of the marriage or something. And she'd kind of used the firefighter schedule to her advantage because I was gone for 24. And she had became friends with a police officer that was also married in our neighborhood. And they became friendly. And that's where that relationship built. And then she said she wanted a divorce. I had no idea it was coming. But when I decided it was time for me to get it back out there, which I was shook up for a while, I didn't know how to meet people. I didn't go to bars. I was a married father of 2 with dogs and a house, and I run a mowing business. I basically work 7 days a week supporting, everybody. And no fault of my ex-wife. She also worked hard, was a good mom. But, for whatever reason, people grow bored or tired of their situation. Well, anyway, to answer your question, so I was like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what everybody does. I'm going to go online and meet people because I don't go to bars. I don't really drink. And I'm not terribly religious. I don't go to church. And so I went on Plenty of Fish, which was this, I guess it still exists. It's a free website. And you meet some people. You never know what you're going to get. And here's the way I did it. So then after Plenty of Fish, because it's free, everybody's on there, even people that shouldn't be. Like maybe they're just looking for an affair. Maybe they are married. I don't know, or what they're looking for.
I think that was like the original Tinder, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it was free, so I did it, and I was unhappy. And then I moved to Match.com, which you have to pay to do. And it was inexpensive, maybe $20-$30 for a month or 2. And you meet some nice people, but it's a meat market. And so I was like seeing these eHarmony commercials, and it was expensive. And when you go on eHarmony, you have a 2-hour-long questionnaire you have to fill out. It's actually serious. And they are dialing in your personality. They ask the same questions 10 times over. It's like a psychological test. And then they don't treat it as a meat market. They only give you like 2 or 3 matches a week, sometimes none. And so I noticed that the quality of people were going up, or maybe it was the fact that the people that were willing to do that were actually willing to find a relationship, which is what I was wanting to do. And I always put it like this. Plenty of Fish is like going to the State Fair Carnival. Everybody's allowed in there, and you don't know who's who. Some of them are nice, some of them are crazy, some of them are carnies.
What's wrong with carnies, man?
I'm
nice
sure
people.
there's some in my family. But and Match.com, I put it like the local bar. Everybody can go, but you clean up, you're a little bit better, and stuff like that. And I put eHarmony as that bar, but with the hit the mic. That bar, but with the high cover charge. So if you're in there, you're
well-to-do.
You're in there for the same reason as everybody else, and that's how it worked for me. So
just pull it back towards you and make it easier.
That'd be better for me.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And so eHarmony is where I met my wife, and we dated for a while. And Jeremy knows her, and we've been very happy. And of course, we're both at that point past the age of having children. She had 2 prior kids from her previous marriages, and I had 2. And so we were in the later stage. So we went to Vegas and got married by Elvis and at the Graceland Chapel, which I do recommend. And we stayed at the Trump Hotel, which a lot of people don't know this. The Trump Hotel in Vegas doesn't have a casino in it.
No.
And but it is the most high-class place I've ever been in my life, and they treated us great. This is well before Trump was president, obviously. It was like 3 years before, I didn't even know he was running at the time. It was just Trump's Hotel. I was like, this is beautiful. They treated us great. They limoed us to the Graceland Chapel. We got married by Elvis. I'm pretty sure he was the real Elvis. I think he was the 70s version.
Makes appearances just to do a couple marriages.
I come off that private island every once in a while.
Yeah. And so
goes back to his Illuminati business.
Yeah. And so the reason I probably worked so much at the fire department and with my lawn service I've done for 30 years. My son Truman, he's at Mizzou.
How fitting with that name.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people don't know the Mizzou Tigers' name is Truman.
Yeah,
exactly. And but he's actually named after Harry Truman, and then his middle name is Harrison. I did a president there, so it's Truman Harrison. My daughter, who's 18 months younger, is Reagan McKinley, also presidents. And they couldn't be two more diverse kids.
Who, McKinley?
No.
I agree with you. Ronald Reagan's is the greatest president we've ever had. But anyway, and I named my daughter. But they could be more. My son's more conservative, more quiet, a little more on the right side of the political thing. If you have to go that way. My daughter's not political, but she goes to school in New York City. She lives in Manhattan, and which is super inexpensive, by the way. If your dad paying for it, it's so cheap.
Yeah,
that's sarcasm. But she's going to the New York City School for Dramatic Arts. She wants to be an actor, an artist, writer. She's got the best attitude. I was like, well, what's your goal? She's like, I just want to be a part of it. And I go, whether that's a stagehand, a writer, an actual actress. And I go, what's your goal? I go, how many years do you give yourself after you graduate? And she goes, my lifetime. I want to do this. I go, I'll go to New York and LA, wherever these things are happening, and I'm going to work and just try to be a part of it on some level, which is refreshing because I know it's a long shot, but people do it, And I was like, she goes, Dad, do you think I'm crazy? And I said, I think you're crazy if you don't. And that was the kind of support I tried to give her, was you have to take those chances. I mean, sure, like my son, traditional 4-year college at Missouri. Makes sense to him. Made sense to me. I went to UMKC, got a degree. Made sense to my folks. My daughter would have flunked out in 2 weeks. It doesn't make sense to her. She's like, why would I continue high school? Why would I do this? I want freedom. I want to have fun. I want to do exactly what I want to do.
But at least she has a purpose behind it too.
Yeah, she does.
And not a quitter's mentality. I mean, that's all you can ask.
Yeah. That's right. And looping back, she is also my soulmate when it comes to the comic books and the Star Wars. Whereas my son, he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't care. He's just not into it. But me and Reagan, we will be at the Comic-Con. We will be at the opening night of the movies. She has all over her walls posters of, Marvel characters, and it's awesome. She's just like me. I think Truman falls more on the side of being more like his mother. But by the way, my ex, she's also a nerd and stuff like that. But Truman's just a little more conservative. But yeah, my ex, I think it was part of our attraction when we got married, is that she was a Star Wars, Indiana Jones, stuff, and that's probably why we had connected. So, but anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
But so anyway,
what made you want to be a firefighter?
Oh, I appreciate the question. My uncle was a firefighter. He's retired now, and he always just seemed like the happiest person in the room, like at a family get-together. He just didn't seem as stressed or as bummed out that maybe he had to work the next day, whereas, if you're the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday guy, which we've all been at some point, I'm sure, which I was. I used to work downtown. Sunday night, I hated it. I was like, God, tomorrow's Monday. I got to get up at 6:30 in the morning and sit in rush hour. And then I got to work till 5 and then walk to my vehicle and sit in rush hour back so I can repeat this 5 times. And it's the same thing. And maybe this is what I was touching on with my daughter. I've always been a little bit more about freedom. And that's why I started the mowing business, because it wasn't for money at the time. I was like, I wanted to be outside. I was like, if I come home and I just sit inside, I just watch TV, I'm kind of miserable. And I saw my uncle. He's always happy. He always seemed to have more time off. And even when he was on the job, there's that freedom to it. You don't know what you're walking into. And no day's ever the same. It can be the slowest, most boring day. And you're going to hear a guy say, you know what? It was still fun. It's going to be a day where they just grind you to death and you don't sleep, you don't eat, and you're filthy. And you've probably taken 3 showers and went through 10 shirts. And you know what? You're
that
glad.
Was yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? You're happy about. Yesterday was, though I'm at a slower station, yesterday was a grind. And there were times when the bells would go off and I would cuss out loud. Like, damn it. It's like, I just don't need this right now. But all said and done, I was like, would change a thing. Yeah. And that's what made me want to be a firefighter, was my uncle. And he's since retired, and he's doing the firefighter thing where he grew a beard down to his belt.
Nice.
He looks like Santa Claus now, and getting fat too. But I think
already got that part covered.
Yeah, it might
I'm
be
halfway to retirement.
I'm leading the way. It's like I'm genetically predisposed to be that way, I think. But that was what led me to be it. And then the freedom part. But also, I enjoy being part of the community. It's fun. I never really thought about that. You know, when you're a kid, I think my dream was I want to be rich. I want to make a lot of money. I don't care how I have to do it. But then as you got older, and I went through UMKC, got my degree. I was accepted to law school. I didn't go because I worked at a law firm. And I was like, I hate this. And I met great people. But the saying in the law firm was, hey, it's Friday. Only 2 more work days until Monday. I mean, there were no days off, you know. And I was like, geez, stuck in this. I was like, I can't do this. And so I really devoted myself. And I did get on a little later. I think I applied 8 times over 10 years. And I think they finally said, look, just hire him. Because he's not going to
Make him go away.
Yeah, he's not going to go away. He's just like a lost dog. Just give him something. And so they did. And it, honestly, the greatest day for me. I loved it. I was so happy. I mean, my demeanor changed. I was like, I walked out of whatever job I had. I think I was a parole officer at the time. And I walked out of that job and I felt nothing. I was like, I'm so glad that I'm done with this. And plus, the whole parole thing, I hate it. It's like everybody lies to you, you know, on your client list. I mean, typically they're all lying to you. And it got so bad it affected me, who I was as a person. I could go to the grocery store and say, hey, which aisle are the chips on? An employee at the grocery store would say aisle 3. I'd think they were lying to me. I was like, because everybody lied. And I was like, I can't keep going down this. And then when the fire department called, it was like, I felt like I was found where I belonged. You know, I fit in, you know. So I hope that's a long answer.
I still remember when I first got the call, and it was just like this, like, just weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Just, 2 middle fingers in the air. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah,
It was.
Well, it's typically like there's a long, you know, you go through the application process, which is long. For most departments, I think that's probably standard. And then you just don't hear anything.
Right.
For forever,
Right.
it seems like. And then all of a sudden one day it's a phone call. Hey, you're in the next academy class that starts in 2 days.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, go get your physical and pee in a cup.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's how quick it
Yeah.
happened. And the stress there was like, I hadn't heard. And I remember I'd gotten back from Daytona Beach. I went down to see the NASCAR race. And I was tired. And the test was that day, to take the test on the class that I got hired. And I was like, I'm skipping it. I'm not going because they never hire me. And my wife at the time was like, get up, you're going, and made me go. And I'm glad I did. And I manned up and went down there. And then, you know, here it is 20 plus years later. Thank God I did it. You know, who knows what angry person I would be if I didn't, if I still had that off. I don't think I could have an office job. I'd have figured something out, you know.
You just mow grass full time.
Yeah. And be even more broken down than I am now.
But you probably have a nice beard.
That's true. Exactly. And that's the other aspect of the lawn services. I'm kind of come and go as I please. After I leave you guys, I'll go hook up my trailer and probably do 4 or 5 lawns and, you know, call it a day. And, you know.
Should have brought yours here. You can mow my yard.
Yeah, exactly. I could have.
Yeah, my grass needs to be mowed too.
One less thing I got to do.
That's right. But so I enjoy it still. And but yeah, it's the only job I can have, or I said, where I don't feel like it's a job. I love doing it. You know, I mean, I always said I do it for free, but I'm glad they pay me. Believe me, because I'd be living under a bridge if they didn't. So.
Well, I mean, you showed determination and dedication. I mean,
Yeah.
applying 8 times.
Yeah, I was devoted to it. I knew. I kind of knew. It's like one of those things when you're doing something, and you really can't put your thumb on it, but you just know why you're doing it. And I just kept doing it, and I was silently doing it because I was getting tired of the not making it. And then I was like silently do it, but I just know this is right. This is gonna work out for me, and it did. I'm glad. So
yeah, and we talked about that, and we've talked about it before about this profession, being a firefighter, being a police officer, being in the military. For a lot of that stuff it's not just a job; it's a calling for some people.
Agreed.
That is where they belong, and they're not going to be happy doing anything else.
That's right.
So.
You bring up a good point there, Jeremy. I think I can't remember the movie. It's a military movie where this guy in the movie is like Afghanistan, Iraq or something. It's just horrible fighting, stuff like that. And the moment he's done and he's back home, he like signs up for another tour because that's where he was happiest. It just made sense.
Talk about the Hurt Locker?
I think it might be.
No.
American Sniper.
American Sniper.
It might be. Yeah. One of those two.
Well, the Hurt Locker, I guess, too.
Yeah.
They're all probably based the same way, but they're like Jeremy said it. There's kind of a calling for what you want to do, and it doesn't have to necessarily be in the service that we're in, or in the military, or the cops. One of my best friends, Brett, I met at the law firm. He's an attorney. He probably the best dude I've ever met, the most honest, smart guy I've ever met. His calling is to be an attorney. He said he wanted to be one since he was a kid. He's listed as like one of the top 100 attorneys in the United States. And there's millions of them. And he's up there because that's his calling. And he loves it. And it's like he found his niche. And for him to go do 7 days a week in an office, it's glorious.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I'm going to die. I can't do this. I always joke, two buildings were side by side, and one's on fire and one's not. The on fire one is the least scary because that's the job I'd rather do, and not sit in there and push a pencil.
Well, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make is they don't really push for whatever that niche or that calling is.
Right.
And some people just don't know.
Right.
And maybe they're too scared to try to figure it out or whatever, but they get stuck and they don't see that they have options.
Right.
So,
and
I don't know.
I think that's big. And what we were talking about with my daughter, when she said, "Dad, am I crazy for doing this?" I'm like, "You're crazy if you don't. You got it. This is your life. Go do it." And it's like growing up, I had a pretty stable family life. My mom and dad, they worked great job, blue collar, good providers. But as a kid, you see that and you're like, it's a great example, but you start to think that's what you should do too. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. And you want to be like, you know what? You can strike out. You can go try things and fail and find what your niche is.
Oh, no, you can't fail. Everybody gets a trophy now.
That's right. That's a trophy dinner. Everybody's a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back when I was growing up, there were losers. So and they had no trouble pointing it out. But so that's where it kind of, I'm trying to switch the narrative, like with my kid. I was like, go for it. And my son's doing it too. He's changed his degree and he's shown interest in the military. He's shown interest in working for the government. And then he's shown interest in computers now. And I'm like, you're young. You're 21.
Yeah. Why not do it now?
Do it now.
Instead of, I'm going to wait until I'm 30. I have a crap ton of debt. I'm married, have a kid, something like that.
The cement is hardening.
Yeah.
Hardening. It's not hardened,
And
but
you're
it's
just
getting hard.
drowning.
Yeah. And I'm like, do that. And plus, look at all the most, and sometimes we confuse success with wealth. Look at the most successful people. They're happy and they've done their thing, and sometimes that's hand in hand though, because they're doing what they like, they do make a good living,
How cool is it that you get to wake up and go do something that you love and get paid to do it?
Absolutely. That's the thing is like, we actually said that joke last night at the station. We went out back. I'm in a single engine house and we were screwing around and there's some raccoons up on the hill or something. And there's like, because we're kind of on the outskirts of the city and we put food out there for them and stuff. And we're watching them and laughing and just kind of, shooting the shit in between calls. And I said, we get paid to do this. I mean, not just stand here and shoot shit, but it's like, yeah, if a call comes in, we're going, but you're on the clock, and it's like, this is great. And 5:30 in the morning when my alarm goes off, hop up, get a shower, go off to work. I always look forward to it. It's one of those jobs where it's like truly lucky that I found this.
Take me in your mindset. I'm a little interested, obviously, when you describe some of the circumstances of your divorce, how your job was a little bit taken advantage of. What was your, after working for so long, so hard to get on this job, loving it, having everything set up, and kind of finding that had a factor in the reason you weren't married? How did that feel?
I'll tell you, that was probably the first time in my life where I absolutely was literally destroyed. I mean, just even when I was on the truck I was on at the time, it was instant change too. I was so upset. I've always been a pretty happy guy, joke around, whatever, like do my job, have fun when we can. And I thought, well, life is great. It's perfect. And then when that bomb got dropped on me, it was an instant change in my demeanor. I was upset. I lost tons of weight. I always say divorce is the best weight loss program. Don't recommend it, but you will lose weight. And it was taken advantage of right under my nose. And it was insulting. It hurt. So much good came out of that is I was depressed. And my crew and the crew of the other rig in the station instantly were like, what's wrong with Rich? Why is Duck, that's my nickname, why is he acting this way? He doesn't talk to anybody. He's private now. He's quiet. He will call in sick now. He will take a V-Day. And there were so many concerns, finances, kids, houses, just everything. And it was crashing down. And I was a completely different human for a long time. And that's the bad side, is that it did provide an opportunity for my ex maybe to find that other relationship. But then again, I was like, it's not because of the job, though. Maybe that's just going to happen anyway. Maybe that's just the natural progression.
If you were a lawyer working 7 days a week.
Yeah, you're working all the time. Or, if you work in an office 9 to 5, she works in an office, maybe there's, it just happens. So there's really no blame there on the job, but you are gone 24 hours, and it's pretty regular schedule. So, people know what's going on. And
so how did you pull yourself out of it? What did you do? What steps did you take to recover and grow?
Okay, this is huge for me, and it might surprise people. It surprised me. I didn't think that there would be anybody there for me that would care. I thought, yes, my mom will, yes, my dad will, but it's kind of like you almost think that's like the requirement of a parent. The guys at work at the fire station came out of the woodwork for me, and it like opened my eyes. I mean, guys that never talked to me on other shifts would come out of their way and call me or text me or come up to the station just to see me because they knew I was having such a hard time. I was really messed up. And I got some good advice from my dad. He's like, at the time, I think I drank a little bit, not much. He goes, just stop drinking. Stop drinking. And I said, okay. And I did. And I pretty much haven't drank ever since. But I was never a problem. I didn't even go to bars and stuff. Never much of that. He goes, let's just make it easy. And that was good advice from him. But I found that these coworkers, some from other stations that barely knew me, were coming out of their way for me. And I was like, at first confused. I was like, why do you guys care? But they did. And I took advantage of the EAP system, and after that ran out, I went to a therapist just to talk your stuff out, But I found that the best advice, and when I felt better, was when I talked to my coworkers. And sometimes you don't even have to be a smart guy. Sometimes the guy you don't expect will say something, and that sticks with you. And that's what I found, is just good, cathartic, And the one thing I always have to credit was my mother. She'd listen to me talk, same story 10 times over and again, and she just let me do it. And that was big. And I found out, it was like sometimes when somebody's having a problem and they've told you the story, maybe they need to tell it to you again. Maybe you got to tell it to you 10 times, And, but I was so pleased and honestly confused. That's the thing that bothered me about maybe my personality. I was like, why would anybody care about what I'm going through? This is a job. And I realized this isn't more, we have our own community as firefighters, and we do take care of each other. And, just like anything, you got guys you don't like, you got guys you do like, get along better. But we're talking about these outlying fringe guys that barely knew me were stepping to the plate for me. And I was like, I can't believe that. And that really set me on the path to, like, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to feel better. Some people go through a divorce. There's no problem. This was new territory for me. I really thought I'd be married till the day I die, and that's it. Well, when it ended, I was messed up.
Well, it wasn't because there was no even thing mutual about it. It was like
right.
You were headed along this path, she was headed this one, and all of a sudden you had to make the course correction.
That's right. And she had, and it's a lot of people are guilty of this, and I don't want to put the blame on my ex. But sometimes at the end of a relationship, you're looking to set yourself up for that soft place to fall, and the person that you're divorcing or breaking up with, they're left hanging. Well, I was left hanging. I had nowhere to fall. I mean, she had her new relationship in order. I didn't know about it. Well, I was just like, this is what's happening. Go. And I just crashed. I was like, this, is rough. And there were times too where, and this is a bad thing. On the job, you start to wish for bad things to happen. Like, in a way, this is my mindset, is like, oh, if there's a house fire or something like that, well, maybe you're not as careful as you should be because you think your self-worth is less. I was going through a divorce. I felt terrible. I was unsure about the things I'd listed, kids, money, stuff like that. I was like, well, I'm going to go in here and I don't care what happens, But you got to realize that there are guys around you that do care, and you don't want to put them in harm's way. You have to. So to answer your question is like, that's what helped bring me out of it. Is like, there's guys that care about you. They stepped up to the plate. Even guys that you don't know, there's people that will come up, be like, I can help you out. And they did. And, even though I was going down a path for a while, and then, you shape up, and then you realize, it opens your eyes. Even as an adult, you're like, I don't have things figured out like I did. There's a lot of great people stomping around here that will come out to help you, so.
That might even have changed your perspective on some of those people too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it really did. It just, I can't say enough. And I'm picturing these people in my head as I say it. I don't want to say their names. Just good dudes, man. It's like, holy cow, I'll remember it forever, you know. And it's like guys that maybe we said 10 words to each other in years, and they were the ones that showed up. Yeah. And plus, your crew, your friends, they showed up. But sometimes what stuck with me was these guys on your fringe group, the fringe of your, that were there. And it's like, you do have support. And I think as men, I don't know, I'm not a therapist, but we get to the point where you want to keep things bottled up. You want to handle it yourself. You don't want to be a bother. That's my thing. I don't like to be a bother with anybody. It's like if I'm sick or if I'm not feeling well, I want to handle it. I don't want anybody to know, But back then I couldn't hide it. And then I realized when I couldn't hide it that I never should have been. That was kind of the thing. It's like it was okay.
Yeah, well, and that's that's typical, especially in our line of work, is the whole suffering in silence thing.
Yeah.
It's well, I'm having this problem. Nobody else is having this problem. Mm-hmm. So, I'm the helper. I have to take care of it myself. I'm good and all that stuff. And then, it's funny that whenever you open up and start talking to people, you figure out, well, he went through the same thing, or, we have more in common, and people go through stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we do tend to bottle that shit up, and that's what leads down the path and having those problems.
And let me ask you guys a question. Why do you think we bottle it up? I think it's because I was afraid to look weak.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right.
Well, there's such a, I mean, you know this, dude. Mm-hmm. The whole suck it up mentality.
Yeah, suck it up.
Yeah.
Be tough.
Yeah.
Walk it off.
Yeah. Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, rub some dirt. Just like football practice.
Yeah.
Get up. Walk it around.
How many more sayings can we do? Cliches?
But it's true, though. But I was so afraid of looking weak.
Yeah.
And I was like,
man
why?
Up thing.
Yeah. Why do I feel that way?
What I do love, though, I think it speaks so much to our job and, law enforcement and there's similar jobs like it. Like, we have so many more similarities than we realize the day we start the job.
Right.
From someone that's a complete stranger.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to be your best friend to know what you go through on the job, know how stressful your life can be, and know how they can help with it.
That's right. And also, you also never know. I mean, we're probably covering a lot of ground that's been covered, but I haven't. I was first time here, so you never know what anybody's going through. I don't know that you've had maybe the worst morning of your life. You don't know that maybe I was going through a divorce. And then you can think, well, that guy's a dick or that guy's a jerk. And then you find out later that, well, he was dealing with some big problems. And what's funny is I think there was a time actually where that happened. My captain was great at the time, great guy. I wanted to go down to the track, it was near the station, and run around it. And some people wanted to come with me, and I didn't want them to come. I was like, I got a radio. I don't want you guys down there. And they're like, wow, you're a jerk. And I was like, F off. But I want to go down there and be by myself. I need to run around and just clear my head. And then later, my captain came to me, like a month later, and he goes, I realized why you're that way that day. And at the time, it'd been easy for him. If, let's say he wasn't even my captain, he was just a detail guy. I'd be like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah.
That's why he's acting that way. But sometimes you don't know. It's more than that first impression.
Well, and I kind of want to do a little sidebar there because that's a great point. Mm-hmm. And with me about to get promoted and all that stuff, I've been thinking about leadership a lot more, and then just
how the hell you could deal with me on your crew,
right? Different aspects, but So for us, and for law enforcement, whatever, whenever we interact with the public, that's going to be the only time they see us.
That's a very good point.
And it may be the first time they see us. It could be the last time too.
Mm-hmm.
Or the 50th.
Or the 50th.
Right.
Time. Who
knows?
Yeah,
unfortunately, you got your regulars. That's right.
So it's no matter what we're dealing with, there needs to be a level of professionalism when dealing with the public.
Right.
That sometimes is lacking. But on the flip side of that, whenever we're interacting with that patient individual, we don't know what they're going through either.
Yeah, they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
If we're there, it's because something's not great.
Yeah.
It's not like they called us because...
And that's what...
Sometimes they call us just for, cake and ice cream.
That's right. Well,
you haven't got that call?
It's all the time.
Yeah.
Here, let's scratch lottery tickets together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's...
But, I mean, we know something's bad, so emotions are going to be all over the place. So we need to be able to take that in stride.
That's right.
Yeah.
We had talked about that in a previous episode, when someone in the public, their house is on fire.
Right.
When they pull up and the fire, the guys get off the fire truck, they don't see Jeremy or Chris or you. They see 4 firefighters that are there to solve a problem.
That's right.
Any thought of their feelings, their emotion, I wonder what they had for lunch, I wonder what's going on. They don't care.
No, they don't. Yeah.
They don't pay us to wonder what our feelings are.
Right. Yeah, you're just there. They might not even be able to pick you out of a crowd later.
Yeah.
They just
probably won't.
Yeah, and they might come by the station and say thank you. We get that every once in a while and stuff like that.
They always come on the wrong shift, though.
They do. It's like they want to bring the cookies and the brownies and the potato
B shift is always like, that was us.
That
we got
was
it.
us.
Uh-huh. Yep. Thank you so much.
And then it goes in their locker.
That's 100% inaccurate.
Yeah.
The one B shifter.
Yeah, that's right. But
I'll be honest. I've worked all 3 shifts, and it happens on every shift.
Yeah, it
never.
C shift's perfect. Sorry.
C shift is perfect, but yes, it does happen. Not to me, but
Sorry, we're better than you.
But they do.
That's why you're the third in line. B shift's the best shift. You all know that.
So, but why does everything start on C shift?
It's true.
All the training, the end day cycle.
All right. I'm going to explain this in a way that you're going to understand. We work for the city, and logic doesn't work for the city. So everything has to be
Except in
logical.
this case, they realized.
Yeah.
Every once in a while they get it right.
Yeah.
In this
Just
case,
by
they did.
luck.
No, they've never gotten it right.
Sorry,
Hey.
bud.
Good point. I can't disagree with
So the three of us here have been around long enough.
Right.
Rand's learning. He's starting to
Yeah.
see it.
I saw that the day I decided to be a paramedic.
Oh, yeah.
I figured out, I was like, oh, this
God
is all
bless
just
you.
fucked.
God bless you for the paramedics. Paramedics are such happy, well-adjusted people. Can't wait to get there, all of them. Yeah, I'm glad that I missed that boat. It's not.
Hey,
mine.
there's still time.
No, there's not. I don't think I've ever been that desperate.
That ship sailed straight to an island that then had a volcano on it.
That's exactly right. But you know what Jeremy said, you guys said, is that we're meeting people on their worst day, and so it's required for us to put whatever's bothering us aside.
Yeah.
We're there for them. They don't care that, hey, Jeremy, Chris, whatever, you and your wife are in a fight. Your dog ran off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. They don't care.
Seeing
You got to be your best guy.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's hard. There's some days you just can't.
That's right.
You know, even though you're in uniform and you're there to help and you want to help, you just mentally cannot do it, and something gets said, and you snap.
Oh, I've been there.
I've done it myself. We've all done it.
I've done it.
I've watched Jeremy do it. I've watched Moran do it.
Well, and
You and I
that's
didn't work
where,
together that long, or
No,
just some
perfect.
overtime shifts. But
but that's
know.
where, if you're dealing with your stuff and doing what you need to do to take care of yourself mentally, you don't get to that point.
Right.
The problem is that we've used this whole compartmentalization thing for mental health so long incorrectly,
right.
because we only do the first step. So we take it, we put it in the box, we go do our job. There's another step. You got to take it back out,
Right.
deal with it, process it, squash it, let it go. Then,
I dropped something.
That's
yeah,
You're so fired.
I was making an awesome point.
You're fired, but after the podcast, we still need you.
Yes. And then after the next one, and then whenever we
In like
move
5
everything.
years, you're fired, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So done with you.
Consider yourself on notice.
I'm probably going to retire. This is going to be my swan song right now.
How are we going to pension him off with like the $2 we have in our account? Think like a penny a month or something like
Yeah.
You guys have $2? Damn.
Oh yeah, dude. We're big money.
Between the three of us.
You know,
Yeah.
to piggyback on what Jeremy's saying, if you don't take that back out and you process the stuff you're going through, it'll come out at a bad time on somebody who doesn't deserve it. You
like
could,
clockwork.
yeah, you can be at that lift assist for the guy that you've lifted 50 times that month, and all of a sudden you're pissed off at him. What? He didn't do anything. Or you go,
Oh,
home,
Randy, you don't want to walk today?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're all picturing that guy.
Yeah.
And you're mad at him, but it's actually 10 calls ago or 10 days ago or what you've been doing, and you haven't processed it. Or, just if you don't take care of that mental side of it, it will come out and it will cost you. There's never been a time in my life where I've lost my temper and afterwards I'm like, well, I'm glad I acted that way. No, it's like it's something, I don't know if it's age or maturity, but it's like after I've lost my temper, I've always seemed to regret it. I was like, I could have done that better, and why did I do it? And here's the great thing about being a human. I still do it. I'll still get to that point and just shit, it's like,
Well, I mean, nobody's perfect.
right.
I mean, there's going to be stuff, and even as well as you may be doing everything right, and,
Right.
Your coping skills and all the processing and all of that stuff. You could be doing all that stuff right, but there always seems to be something
That's right.
that just kind of slips through. That's kind of building, and you don't realize it, and then it's like, I'm mad. Why am I mad?
Right. Right.
Or why am I sad? Or, whatever. It's like, oh, well, it was this thing. So you got to take the time and self-reflect
That's
and
right.
really check in with yourself.
See, I had a day like that the other day. Mad all day. Couldn't figure out why. Every call was making me, I was getting madder and madder and madder. Still don't know why. Can't figure it out.
Did you ever get to the bottom of that? That's interesting to me.
Never did.
Right.
I woke up in a bad mood. No idea why I didn't. My wife and I weren't fighting. Didn't run any bad calls.
He went to bed again.
That happens.
I went to that at Moran's house. I still don't know why.
Yeah, just humans being humans, I guess, because there are times when you're in a terrific mood and you don't know why either.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I've got 12.
I wish those would happen more often.
Me too. It's like I got 12 lawns to mow, and
I'm knocking out 14.
And nothing's going the right way, but yet I'm not pissed off.
Yeah.
But there are days where I've got nothing to do. It's a day to myself, and I'm like, F this.
Yesterday was a perfect example of that for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I woke up, had to stay up late the night before.
Right.
Because my wife was out at the farm. They had a sick horse. Mm-hmm. So, up until 1:30, almost 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting for her to get home. Got to be up at 4:30 the next morning to be able to get up and get to work on time. Slept right through all 3 of my alarms. Her first alarm. Her second alarm goes off at 6:35. I'm 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, crap. I could have bounced out of bed, been pissed off all day long.
Right.
But
let it ruin the whole thing.
Let it ruin the whole day. But I didn't. I was like, you know what? Cool. I checked my phone. I texted the guy, said, hey, I'm going to be, 5 minutes late. Can somebody hold for me?
Right.
And it's no problem. The guys are like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem, dude.
Mm-hmm. Happens to everybody.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. And that's, I had that conversation with one of the guys that was working overtime because he was the guy that held for me in the morning.
Right.
And he's like, no, man, it happens. Don't worry about it. I said, I know it happens, but that's why I'm here at 6:15 in the morning every morning is because I don't want it to happen.
That's right.
I'm trying to set a good example, not only for everybody else, but for myself.
And plus, you're not a frequent flyer as far as you're not late every shift.
Yeah.
So you do get that leeway. You earn that, by being on time, by being not missing calls and stuff like that. So it happens once. Yeah. Even twice, whatever.
Yeah. So
it's not this is the 10th time in 10 shifts.
Yeah.
I'm not holding for him because he needs to learn,
So
that's why I'm a 6 o'clock guy.
Yeah.
Every morning.
So I get to the station. I'm like, all right, we have to go to the academy today because I got to get my new gear. Mm-hmm. All right, it's going to be a good day. And then it's like, oh, well, guess what? You have training at 9:45. Oh, well, okay. So we go do that. Then we go to the academy. Well, the radio's broken. Find that out in training. So now we have to go to the radio shop. Mm-hmm. All of that stuff.
Right.
And we're going to give you a 3-alarm fire at night.
Yeah. We're going to give you a regular house fire, and then 20 minutes later, whenever you get back to the station from that, you get a 3-alarm fire that you're going to be at until 8 o'clock the next morning.
And you're already dirty.
Oh, yeah.
And wore out.
Oh, yeah.
And you've had a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm like, bring it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not sad about this at all.
Right.
Great day.
Right.
Had a great time. Mm-hmm. As soon as I got to the you'll like this. One of the guys that was working overtime, there's been a little bit of a water battle going on.
Oh, that happens, yeah.
So he's from the station that the water battle's going on with. He gets overtime with us, comes in with a water gun and just gets everybody.
Sure. So
first thing in the morning, I'm like, going to be a great day.
Yeah. and it ups the ante. It's it's never the way you do these little wars that you get in with people. It's never like, well, I'm going to do this and now it'll be over. No. Now it's like their next move.
Yeah.
So I always put it as
it's not checkers, it's chess.
Yeah. And it's like, you get me, I get you. We do that back and forth till finally nobody has nothing. And that seems to be the typical result that we're happy with.
I think what ended that feud? Retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it's still going on.
You have the talking to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They finally took it serious enough. It's like, okay, you're breaking stuff.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Been involved with that. So.
You were laughing about those days where you just wake up mad. I had one about a month ago. I was just pouting around. And Royals had a day game on. I was like, let's go watch baseball. Just make it better. I turned it on. It was 9-1. The Royals were losing. I was like, son of a bitch! It didn't get any better.
Everything's coming up, James.
The one thing you wanted.
Yeah.
Because I've been there with the Royals, too. And I use them as an outlet. I'm like, all right, I'll sit and watch a baseball game. like you said, 9-1. I'm like, I can't watch this. This is horrible.
I'm gonna watch a rerun.
Yeah, or then like we'll get a home run 9-2, next inning 13-2. I'm like, all right, you're just purposely pissing me off. You're just doing this on purpose.
You know why? It's because you weren't wearing your special socks or special shirt. That's why.
That's true.
Ultimately, it's your fault.
I wasn't sitting at the right angle.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want everybody to know that the reason that the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl is because of me. Because I did wear the proper attire that day, and I did the right moves.
Yep.
And that's why we came back.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about that other loss.
Thanks for messing it up for us.
I made my wife walk around Target for 2 hours during a basketball game.
Really?
Yep. Because we were losing. She wanted to go to Target. I'm like, fine, let's go. I'm mad.
Right.
And then we were down like 25. So I'm getting the updates on my phone. I'm like, oh, we're down 15. Oh, we're down 10. Oh, we're up 3. And she's like, I want to go. I'm like, nope. Keep walking. We walked around Target for another 30 minutes. I'm like, all right, game's over. Let's go.
What's funny is my wife, Mel, the day of the Chiefs Super Bowl, which you should never put anything on your bucket list that you have no control over. One of the things on my bucket list was to have the Chiefs win the Super Bowl when I could remember it. I think the first time they won the Super Bowl I was in diapers, and I always joked, I don't want to be back in diapers when they win it again. And so they finally did. So I was like, the day that we're going to play the 49ers, and of course the Super Bowl always starts late, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. My wife was so tired of me because of my anxiety over this. And it's like people say, it's not life or death. Football is not life or death. It's way more important than that. It really is to me, and I care so much. She made me leave the house. She goes, you got to leave. She goes, until that game comes on, you drive back here when the game starts. She goes, I can't stand you. Because I couldn't calm down. I was a nursery. I was pacing. I was like an expectant father. I just cared so much. It's like, just this is so big to me. And just so many decades of failure. And so I did. I hopped in my truck and I drove around. And she was right. I felt better. I went to Quick Trip, got a Diet Coke, cruise around, wherever. And
I forgot about the Diet Coke.
I'm hooked. Even Diet Coke is calling me like, dude, let up. But she made me leave, and even back then, she was right. I had to. I was making her life miserable. I was miserable. The dogs probably felt the energy, and so it worked out. But something you had said, Jeremy, like yesterday, your day started bad. I was up till 4 a.m. We just bought a new boxer puppy, and they're crazy. And so I was up till 4 a.m., and my alarm goes off at 5:30. And finally, Mel woke up, and she goes, we named him Bender. I go, I'll take Bender. And so I got that last hour and a half. And just her doing that for me set me in a good mood. She got up at 4. I mean, she would have taken the dog all night. She's that type of person. But she was asleep. I had him. He's pooping and peeing everywhere. He doesn't know anything. Yeah. And he's insane. And
he's a boxer.
Yeah, he's just born that way.
And that never goes away.
And you keep getting boxers.
I know, it's my 4th one. It's like I'm a slow learner.
With a head that big.
Yeah, I know. There's nothing.
Bringing it back around.
That's right. Nothing but airspace. But just her saying, hey, I got him. And I remember standing up off the bed. She picked him up. He's a little bitty. And she went in on the couch and turned on TV and sofa and started watching her shows and was hanging out with the dog. And I got like that last hour and a half. And that was enough to get me going through the day, because it ended up being a day, but I was like, thank God I got that hour and a half. And I was tired, but then there's a point where you're tired and then you start to come out of it. And you're like, I don't need sleep. I'm a superhero. I can stay awake forever, But it's funny. It's like when I did crash, that was rough.
Oh, that's what I've noticed about coffee with me. It's never like you drink coffee and all of a sudden you're like, hey. It's like you drink it and then you're like, you find that like second wind.
It's that slow burn. It's like a jet taking off of an aircraft carrier. You kind of drop a little bit before you.
That's right. And then when I did finally fall asleep, and I think the bells went off or I woke up, I had no clue where I was. It's like, I don't want to go to school. I'm like totally out of it,
So I picked up overtime yesterday, the last 12 hours on one of the ambulances. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about that breakover point in the middle of the night of going to sleep.
Yeah.
If you can go to sleep before 5 o'clock, and you're gonna be all right. If you go to sleep after 5 o'clock, it's gonna mess up your entire day.
That's right.
See,
now, for me, it's about 4:30.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If I get back about 4:30, I won't even lay down. I just stay up.
Yeah, you're right. I think we rolled into the station about 4 a.m. this morning, and
that I'll still lay down.
I did, and that 2 hours I got, that was awesome. And then I get home, and of course, my wife had it with Bender, the boxer, and I had to pick up the slack even though I was tired. And I was like, yeah, I'll do this, and we worked it out, and so because she has her stuff too, she's got to take care of her jobs and things like that. But and that was really kind of the deal. But you're right. If it's like closer to 5, I'm not going to bed. No. It's just get in the shower, click on the news.
It's the same words from everybody. Well, I'm up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it makes
exactly that way too.
It is that very statement. Well, I'm up. This is it now.
Who wants coffee? We'll sit around the kitchen table.
Yeah, and start BSing about stuff.
Yeah,
I think
solving the world's problems.
My breakover, especially if I'm on the ambulance, is usually like that 3:30 mark, where it goes from like, "Hey, what's going on tonight?" to "What?"
Yeah,
that's usually my.
Or like what Jeremy said, he battled it yesterday. You get in, maybe you're a little late, stuff like that, and then you find out you have training. And sometimes I can just feel the blood drain out of it's like, this is the worst day.
And it's always during study hour.
I don't.
Oh, it was first thing in the morning for us.
Oh, that's not bad then.
Yeah. 1 o'clock training is.
It's the worst.
Every firefighter knows what time that is.
Yeah.
1 o'clock
time.
is. It's
It's study time.
It is study time.
So luckily we got study time yesterday. But that was about the only time that I sat down all day.
Right. I never really caught up yesterday, even at the slow station I'm at.
When I first came on the job, I thought study time was study time.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, he's on the couch studying," and I went in there. I'm like, "He's asleep." They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You say he's studying?" And they're like, "Yeah."
How are you not getting this?
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm a medic.
That's right.
Sorry, my people are very literal.
Yeah. But no, it never caught. But like you said, it's a good day. So it worked out.
So let's progress on.
Yeah, let's do. Okay, so went through divorce, stuff like that.
Oh, we're still talking about it.
We're moving on.
To
another event in my life. I think Jeremy's pointing me this way.
Yeah.
And I won't get into exactly some particulars here because I don't know them myself. But I lost my parents about 3.5 years ago on the same day. And it was a murder-suicide. And so I went over to their house. I just got back from Cancun. And me and my wife. And we do a Cancun trip about once a year. Usually early spring because that's right before mowing starts. And then I'm just busy.
Well, we went in February that year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was still a little chilly that time, I thought.
It was. Yeah, the snorkeling was not awesome.
It was fun, but it could have been warmer.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it.
They went to Cancun without us.
We did.
It was.
We did.
Are you shocked?
I think I still have the picture of that sea creature thingy from the thing on your arm.
Yeah.
Okay, we get it. Get to the story, assholes.
It was so awesome.
I'll tell you what.
It was
I'll tell you what. I've been to Mexico with Jeremy. Once was enough.
Oh, fair.
Well,
You're next. So I did it once. He did it once. You're up.
You're up. Jeremy's a good time, man. No, it's good. But
This beach is too sandy.
so
That's exactly what happened.
how dare you?
Yeah. Chris's was the water's too wet.
No, I got in the water.
A little further than you wanted
It
to.
happens. But I still got in the water.
Right. But yeah, so me and my wife always try to take this trip, and my parents watch our dogs. We've always had dogs, and so they take care of that. I get back. I think I go to work on a Friday, and I call my dad, and I'm like, hey, he only lives like 4 miles from me. And I'm like, hey, can you go over and let the dogs out? He's like, I sure can. No problem. I'm like, great, Pop. Appreciate it. Hang up. Saturday, I got back to Cancun Thursday, worked Friday. Saturday, my stepson, Mel's son, Jake, wants to come over and he wants to learn how to do maintenance on lawnmowers. And so I've got like a Skag and a John Deere and Honda and all these mowers. And we're changing oil and filtering, sharpening the blades. And it goes all day. And he wanted to start a lawn service, and he's a great kid. And probably better at it than I am. But so do that. So I don't talk to my parents or even go over there. I'm tired. So Jake leaves. I go back to bed. I'm like, Sunday morning, I'm going to go visit my folks. Well, I do. And I drive down the road, and it's right at the beginning of spring when you're starting to think you're going to start mowing lawns if you're doing what I'm doing. So I'm taking my time, and I'm driving past some properties, just saying, oh, week out, maybe 2 weeks here. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to my folks' house. And all this happens very quick. I pull up, and I can hear the TV from the street where I parked. And I walk into my parents' house, and I'm like, it's like a North Carolina basketball game. And I'm like, maybe NASCAR or something. My parents would have it up. They're both getting old. My dad was 82, my mom was 72. And they're like, why is the TV loud and why is it basketball? It's just not their thing, not March Madness. They wouldn't care. And so I knock on the door, obviously no answer. And so I'm like, I pull the key down and I let myself in, and my mom is sitting right there. And I'm like, being her son, and she knows who I am, I'm like, thanks for getting up, Mom, and letting me in. No response. And then I realized, well, look at this mess on the carpet. What is going on? And it's starting to slowly add up. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, you've hurt yourself. I need to help you. And then it just hits me. I'm like, she's not hurt. She's dead. She had a bullet hole in her. And I walk right past her, and I had something in my hand, probably a Diet Coke, set it on the counter, and I instantly knew. I go, I'm going to walk down the hallway, and I'm going to find my dad in the bedroom. I didn't. I found him in the bathroom. It was a door before, standard ranch house I grew up in. And there he was. He had shot my mom, and then he murdered himself or committed suicide. And I just was like blown away. I can't get into the particulars of why these things happened because I don't know. There was no real buildup. There was no indicator. They were still traveling. They're going to Vegas, Key West. They're doing things. Retired from great jobs. Everything's good. Well, anyway, so I just stood there blank. And I went out, and the first person I called was my wife, Mel. And I think she had me on speakerphone, and she had her grandkids. They're little. She's taking them to the movies. Not technically her grandkids from another marriage,
Yeah.
She's kind of grandma.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, take me off speaker. And she's like, why? And I'm like, take me off speaker. And so I tell her. And she, of course, scraps her day. Then I call the cops, Independence cops. And I'm like, I'm like, hey, no lights or sirens. This is what happened. And they were great. They came in, they did everything. And then I started the process of calling my sisters, calling my aunts, my uncles, their friends. And I don't know why, but in that first 2 hours, I bet I made 100 phone calls. And I'm like, I don't know why I had to get it out there that quick. I was stunned. I don't know what I was doing. I don't remember anything. Mel's filled me in. Some people have filled me in. But I couldn't stop making phone calls. And it was weird. I was like, why am I telling everybody? I don't know why. Well, so anyway, obviously a huge shakeup in my life. Didn't see it coming. And so we had to start the process of selling the house and the estate. And it went into, what is it when you don't have
Probate.
a will? Probate, which is a nightmare. Which I had mentioned earlier, my friend Brett was an attorney. He had one of his guys take care of it for us, which was a huge help. It still took over a year.
Wow.
Okay. This is what hell the court system can be. Well, anyway, so again, I go back to a therapist, and, I kind of felt like I went as far as I could with this lady. She was good, but it's like, there's only so much I can say. I got more out of talking to my wife or my sisters or guys at work than I did from the therapist sometimes. So I guess my point on that, if I was to make one, is that you don't know where that help's going to come from. And there was a guy, and I alluded to this earlier, in the Fringe, and I'll remember this forever. I don't know how he got my phone number, and he worked at a different station. We had probably said 10 words to each other in 15 years. And he texted me. And his text was so nice. And it was so on the money for who I was and what I was feeling. I was like blown away that this guy did this. And I was like, I'll never forget. And you know what? I haven't seen him since. Still on the job. And when I do, I will pull him aside, you know. It was like, you never know where that help's going to come from, is what I say. And it really did. And I took advantage of the EAP and stuff. And I'm not discouraging that. I think professionals are professionals for a reason, to help you with therapy. But just because you're going to see a therapist doesn't mean that you're doing it right 100%. I might need to call Jeremy. I might need to call you. I might need to call somebody. That support group is huge, and they're there for you. And that was probably a bigger part of me getting over that than, as much as you can get over something like that, than anything else. And of course, time always does its job. But unfortunately, time takes its time. I've always said that.
Well, when you tell that story too, I think about just the logistical nightmare and the fallout that can come from it. You know, like in all actuality, you know, like family members can choose sides, or do you bury them together, or you know, when it comes, like, there's just so much stuff that can tear people apart with that. It's not just, you know, it's a simple versus, you know, somebody died, this is sad.
Right.
There's so much more to that situation, and the unknowns with it.
There's still so many unknowns. And
that would just eat at me.
It did, and it still does. I mean, if you can play a scenario out in your head a billion times, I've done it. I'm like, what led to that point? Why did this happen? Why did I find this? You know, I went too far into it, but my sisters weren't getting along with each other, and I don't think this helped. I still think their relationship, but for different reasons too. I don't know why. I don't try to get too involved, but they're farther apart now than they've ever been. You thought that maybe this would draw them together. It did not. It separated them further. Yeah. And so I didn't try to be, Switzerland? You know, I didn't try to do that, but I was just like, I'm going to be me. I'm going to talk to both of you the same. I'm not on a side or anything, but I did end up being the executor because they couldn't communicate. So I got stuck with that. So even like during that time, I'm mowing. I took months. My chief was great. He goes, take the time you need. And I did. I took months off. And every day it was just enough paperwork from this attorney that was doing most of the job. Oops, sorry. To fill this room. And it's like, you talk about dealing with the government and everything. There was a safe deposit box. You got to get a court order to open it, you know, and that takes a while for a judge. I mean, everything took forever. There's no quick fix. There was no quick fix. And then you're dealing with your emotions, you know, and it's like, okay, I've got to be strong. I got to do this for the family. But then
where's your you time?
Yeah, exactly. And I would be up late every night with my, you know, the plastic tubs firefighters drag their gear around in. Oh, yeah. I had 10 of those with papers, okay, of paperwork. Just because everything, there's so many loose ends of retirements and IRAs and let's sell the house, the car, and the Jeep. There's a safe deposit box. There's insurance policies. And nothing's easy. Everybody you call is a new loose end, you know? And so you're doing all that, and then you're like, I was trying to mow the lawns and keep that up because I still felt like there's typically, you guys, your lawn clients are old. They're old people, you know. They depend on you. So I was trying to do that. I had checked out from the fire department. And I think the biggest thing I got from that is I felt comfortable not being at the fire department. There are times when I love my job like we all do. And after a while, you're ready to go back because you think, well, I need to be back. This is the first time in my life where I was like, I'm comfortable not being there. And my chief made that clear to me. He's like, it's great. It's good. Don't worry about it. Take care of this. And that was huge to me. It really was big. Just having him say, take what you need. And I felt, because I didn't need any more anxiety. It's like, well, geez, I've missed this much work. I don't want to be in trouble. I'm missing out, stuff like that. But my head was everywhere too. So, but he had taken that off my plate. It's like, here's one thing that he could do, and he did it. And I remember him and the DSO came out to my house just to talk with me. And it was huge. It was huge. And what they did, they probably don't even remember. Yeah, I'm sure they remember, but they probably don't even remember what they said or what they did. And we chatted. And then my old crew came out. And I'll remember these things forever. And it's like what they were doing was just taking these little chunks of stress off me. I was like, the job will be there. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Take care of your shit. And if you need anything, call us. And I did. I took advantage of it.
Yeah, well, but that's the great thing about that is because you'd been through a situation before where you'd suffered in silence for a little while.
That's right.
And then this time you didn't.
Right. That's right. I didn't. And it was better. And I'll say, I don't want to compare the two things.
Well, so trauma's trauma.
Trauma's trauma, yeah.
Regardless of what it is. There are different variations of it, but for the sake of argument, trauma is trauma.
That's right.
So you had one traumatic event, you handled it one way.
Right.
Realized that wasn't the way that you probably needed to handle it.
Wasn't good.
Then you had a second traumatic event.
Again, you were blindsided by.
Right, but completely.
But you handled it completely different.
Right.
And had a lot better, more positive results.
That's exactly right. And like you said, trauma's trauma. And when I went through the divorce and I thought my life was upside down and I tried to internalize it and beat it on my own. And then, I was resistant to people helping me because it's like, I got to fix this, but I didn't. And I got through it and it opened my eyes. So when this happened with my folks, this event, I was completely open. And like I said, I don't have a problem talking about it. Maybe 5 minutes ago I was telling I was a little misty-eyed. It still bothers me. It's a big deal. But I don't have trouble talking about it because I think we had talked about it earlier. You don't want to put it in a compartment and forget about it. And then this comes erupting out.
Yeah. The thing is you never truly forget about it.
No, you don't.
It's always just kind of lurking back there.
Oh, yeah. I still have conversations with my mom every day.
Oh, yeah.
It's you have to. And my dad. And for whatever reasons that I'll never completely understand it. But the divorce trauma was a good learning curve for this next trauma. Is that okay? This is horrible. As horrible as you can't. Let's be open this time. Let's try something new. And
it's probably why you made all the phone calls.
Yeah, exactly. That might be it. I've never realized that, but you may have just made a breakthrough there for me. I really did. If they looked at my phone, they'd have said, "Dude made 50 phone calls in an hour."
I know from my past experiences, and I think we as firefighters tend to do, like it's always honing it in. We did it this way. We're like, nope. Let's do it the polar opposite.
Right.
And then the next time, God forbid you don't.
Right.
But if and when, maybe you find yourself more in the middle. It's that balance that you just chip away at each side, so you finally kind of hone yourself into the middle.
That's right. And man, that was actually good about the phone call thing. Maybe that was it. Is that before I was so good at holding things in. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want anybody to see a weakness. I thought that's an assault on my manhood. If somebody saw that, I needed help. And this time, I couldn't wait to be open about it in a way because I think it did not speed the process.
It took the weight off your shoulders.
It did.
Fairly quicker,
I'm sure. It's like you spread it out a little bit, and you're like, okay, I've got a team around me. I know that people care. They help, and stuff like that. Yeah. And then and you got to be ready sometimes for that second sucker punch. There's a sucker punch coming here. So that goes on, and I'm at my folks' house all day, and corner, and cops, millions of questions. I don't sleep that night at all, at all. It's just horrible. And for a long time, I didn't sleep, just horrible. And it takes like 4 to 6 weeks to get the death certificates. Okay. And you really, if you don't have death certificates and you're trying to deal with,
do shit.
You can't do anything. I don't care if it's natural causes and they've got a will. It doesn't matter. You got to have.
Yeah.
So get 10 copies. Okay. So just a little free advice, anybody in the future. So I get the cause of death and I look at my dad's and it's like single gunshot wound to the head. And I'm sure he just put it and did his thing. And I look at my mom, here's a sucker punch. Multiple shots. And I'm like, I wasn't prepared for that one. I'm like, now it's changed what I thought earlier. I had it in my head one way. It's not like you did it because you're having a great day or something. I don't know. But it like reset me back to square one a little bit. And I'm like, why multiple? You know, and it messed me up. And so I kind of went back to square one.
Yeah.
And I call it the sucker punch. It's like, wow, I think I handled this. Not like, oh, look at me handling this. Like, good for me. No, I'm still upset. But like you had said, I tried it a different way. And you're on your way and you're moving up. And then you don't know. And this paper arrives in the mail. And then you get to looking at it. And it was like a punch right in the face. It's like, I didn't know. I didn't know that there was more gunshot wounds.
Yeah.
And it reset me. And I was like, okay, I messed up again. You know, and I started that process again.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you think you're doing well, you do get, I don't call it a relapse or something happens and it puts you back.
Yeah.
And it did. It messed me up.
I know for me, and what's been actually kind of really hard for me this episode, and these guys will tell you this might be the quietest I've been
Right?
Yeah.
for any of our episodes, is how similar being blindsided by a divorce with a cop.
Yep.
And B, having a mother killed by homicide.
Right.
And I know, and you can probably speak to this too, they were so different because the blindside by the divorce, like, you question a lot of things. What did I do wrong?
Right.
It's very hard, but the images are the things that would still bother me the most.
That's right.
See, like, because
I
no
have.
matter how many grateful moments you have with your mom and your dad, how many smiles, how many memories, pictures or whatnot,
Yeah. Great child.
one always stands out, and it's the one in the end.
It was.
And it's never replaceable, and it's haunting. And if I still haven't gotten over it. I don't know how I will. If you have any advice, I'd love to hear it. But that's the worst part about it.
I wish I could tell you something magical, but it's like you're living in my head. You just said the very thing. The image, if you mention my mom, is the last image. And I wish I could delete that. I can't. And then when I viewed the bodies, they did like this wrap around her head. And they're like, well, hopefully this will be a better deal. It's like, I barely remember that day. I remember opening the door and that process of me talking to her and realizing things were not right. And then it all hit me. I can't get rid of that. And it's like, how do you get rid of that? I don't have that answer.
I've learned to deal with it.
Yeah, that's what
I've learned to process it, but
that's why talking about it helps.
I just wish it wasn't there.
I think I haven't been in you guys' shoes. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. What I do know is the more that you talk about it, process through it and all that stuff, you're never going to forget that image.
That's right.
But what will happen is the emotions that are associated with that image and that memory will start to dim down.
Yeah.
And it won't, for lack of a better word, it won't trigger you the way that it does now.
That's right. That's accurate. And I assess that to trying to handle it the right way and to time. You know, time really does. Like I've always said, the bad thing with time is it takes time. I mean, if you want time to go slow, go through a hard time in your life. Time stands still. It stands still. It does. But also, like Jeremy was saying, trauma is trauma. And I agree with that, but I'll add this in. With the divorce, and everybody's wired different. Maybe people can handle things better than me. Maybe I'm more emotional or less secure, or maybe there's things in me that just I don't handle it. With a divorce, there were so many loose ends, and a divorce is a slow process. So every day you woke up and you didn't know what was going to happen. It's like, well, is her attorney or my attorney going to do this or that? There's always some questions. And I hate living in limbo like that. I hate the unknown in some sense like that.
Yeah.
Now, with my folks deal, it was pretty damn final. So I knew exactly what I had to deal with. Yes, I had to go through the probate process. That's nothing compared to what the actual event. But it was final. I mean, yes, the divorce is final, but it's months of back and forth. There's no back and forth here. And so it was like, here's this huge problem. I'm dumping on your lap. That's it. It won't change. That was that event was my parents. Yeah. And I was like, damn. And with the divorce, it was like, here's this huge problem. It's going to change daily. And it's still going to be a problem, And so there's different ways. But the common denominator is having support and people around you that you can talk to,
Absolutely.
And I'll say it forever. There's not a person on this planet that I think if you ask for help, they won't give it. I really believe that. Because if you're hurting, even if I don't know you, I'm going to try to help you, And it's like, I'm not going to dismiss you. And I thought, there was a time where I thought that I had to hide it because I would be dismissed. I don't know why. Maybe it's just who I am. But then I found out it wasn't true. And it was uncharted territory for me. It was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable asking for help. I was uncomfortable talking to people. But then when these people were coming out of the woodwork and they were so nice, I was like, man, I have missed out all my life on some really great folks that really care about you.
Hey, man, you got to, I've said it a million times, you got to get out of your comfort zone.
That's right.
That's how you grow.
That's right.
So.
And back with you, it's like I have no advice. But you've said things like, and I said this earlier, you never know where that person's going to come from and say something that you'll remember forever, but you did it today with that phone call thing. I never knew why I did that. Now I do. I think you solved it. I was like, honestly, before I kept things bottled up, I'd have never done that. And then I was like, let's try it this way. And you're like, there's a learning thing. And that's probably why I did it. It was part of the process. And I might have been on cruise control, but somehow I knew to do it.
Just give you a fair warning, you're going to have your worst night of sleep in a long time tonight.
That's okay. That's you know what? Between the new puppy and my bad sleep schedule anyway, let's just add more, but no, honestly, but this is it's important to me, and I take it serious, is there were so many guys that said stuff to me off the cuff that I've repeated 1,000 times, and you just joined that group. It's like you never know where you're going to find it. Like when I was driving up here, I didn't know what I was going to do. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I don't know where this is going. And I'm walking out of here a better person because you said something off the cuff that you've dealt with and you identified it in me. And that's where I'm like, you gotta be open. You gotta be like, hey man, I'm hurting. I'm helping. I need help. And it's not always a professional therapist. And
this is why I love it almost more than professionals, is because you get to do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a simple sharing a cigar or a beer or just conversation back and forth that sometimes professionals can't have because there is a professional boundary that should never be crossed.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and I think one of the big things that I'm taking away from this conversation is don't be afraid to reach out to somebody that you know is hurting.
I agree.
Because, especially in our line of work, more often than not, they are not going to reach out themselves.
No, and you may never remember what you say either, but it's pretty plain and clear that they do.
Yeah. Well, and it could be that you reaching out is all the catalyst they need.
That's right.
Just to know that, okay, somebody does care or somebody went through this too. Okay, it's okay for me to reach out for help.
Yeah.
And they may not talk to you or whatever. They might call a therapist or they might talk to somebody else. But just showing them that there are people out there that, hey, man, we care about you.
That's right. And part of the way I is like, we're all work at the fire station, okay? You know the locker room mentality sometimes, and it's all fun and jokes, and typically it is. It is, and you get that mindset. And so when you really are going through something, there was a part of me, I don't know about you guys, there's a part of me is like, well, maybe somebody would make fun of me. And I'm like, I am not in a place to be made fun of right now. I will snap. And maybe that was part of the shield. You know, but then you realize when you do open up and people aren't busting balls or being like, they're like, dude, Doc. And they say stuff to you and they talk to you and they help you. You're like, wow, I had it all wrong. You know, I really did. I mean, this is just, I'm speaking
Who are you?
for me. Yeah. But it's like I'd said, it's like you joined that crowd today. Because I remember when I was going through the divorce, a buddy of mine, we were outside in the parking lot at the station. And this is a stupid statement. And he goes, Duck, it's all bullshit. And we were talking about some things that were going on and we'll get into. He goes, it's all bullshit. And what he was saying is, I don't even think he knew how poignant it was. He was just saying this is all smokescreen. Mm-hmm. This is all going one way. And you know it, and you need to focus. And it worked. It's like...
Perspective is huge.
Yeah. And he goes, everything that you're worried about right now is bullshit. And it took a while, but I was like, he's right. He was right. I don't even know if he knew how right he was. He'll never know, you know? And like I said, the guy after my folks deal who went out of his way to find my number and text me, I still haven't bumped into him, and I will, you know, eventually. And he doesn't even know. I mean, he could probably be in a crowd right now watching this, and he wouldn't know it's him. But it's like you will have an impact on somebody, and you can have positive impact, you know. Mm-hmm. But if you're not willing to open up and take those steps, you're really shutting some valuable doors on your life, you know, and you're going to be a miserable person, you know, so.
Yeah.
Because it's no fun. And I'm sure everybody in this room and anybody who listens has been through some shit. And they wish they could handle it different. Or they've learned something, you know. And again, like I said, I'm walking out of here improved just because of what you just said about the phone calls. I never knew why I did that. I've fought that for 3 years. I'm like, what in the hell am I calling everybody for? I couldn't quit. And I wasn't delivering great news. No, kid. I wasn't like, hey, I
was trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Yeah.
And my parents are dead.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I just won the lottery and I'm sharing it with everybody. It wasn't good news. And I was destroying people's days with every phone call. And then, of course, once the phone calls start making, it starts to network on its own. Yeah. I'm not calling it.
And then you're getting phone calls.
Yeah, I'm getting phone calls and people I've called and already known and stuff like that.
Just imagine all those phone calls that day. And it's something I just think about. All those phone calls you made, what if you hadn't? And all that would have been built up.
Unfathomable I can't even react to that. That would be unbelievable. You know, I also remember having to tell my kids, this is grandma and grandpa. And my mom was the type of grandma that if my son said, Grandma, I want T-bone steak at 3 a.m. My mom's response would have been, how do you want it cooked? Okay, that was her life. And I was like, Mom, where was that when I was a kid? You know? It's like, Mom, I want...
You'll eat what I made.
You know? Exactly. You eat it, you don't get it out of But
it's that grandparent gene that kicks in.
So I had to tell my kids. But the way I did it was, I was like, I got to be smart about this, you know, because they're children, you know, they're younger. And they were at my ex's house that night, and it was before school. And I said, go get your mom. Go get, you know, your mom. And I go sit in my truck, and I went up, and she came out in the driveway, and we're friendly, you know. And by the way, you know, it's a great relationship. We have no problems. And I said, this is what happened, and I need to tell the kids. And she was destroyed. She was in tears. She was like, that was a big part of their life. She loved my parents. You know, so this was a loss for her too. And though we had went through a divorce and maybe, you know, our feelings were gone for each other with all the stuff you do when you go through those things, she still felt that too. You know, and I was like, and I want you to know that I'm getting ready to go tell our children this. So you have to pick up some slack here too. And so there's part of that too, is like you have to also realize that it's on some of these traumatic events, it's not just about you. You know, I had 2 children that can't understand it. I had an ex-wife that she probably just woke up and this is the news I'm giving her. And I'm like, and by the way, you're going to have to help talk to the kids too because you're their mom. And then I've got my wife at home that's trying desperately to help. And wife, Mel, she loved my parents. She loved my dad. I mean, they talk about two people that can hit it off. They just were like a comedy team together. She was devastated. So it's easy for me to focus just on me, because that's why I think we're kind of here. But you also realize that some of these traumatic events affect a lot of other people too.
Well, we talked about it earlier, the ripple effect.
Yeah.
So this one action isn't just affecting this one person.
Right.
It affects this person, which then affects this person, and then this person, and that reaction, and you just go down the chain.
Yeah, and your pain doesn't trump somebody else's pain.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And it's like I had mentioned earlier, my friend Brett, the attorney, he lost his mom maybe a year ago. He was devastated. And we were at the casino, and I think we were in the sports bar or something. And he wanted to talk about it. And it was becoming easy for me to bring up my own story and retell it. And I was like, Brett needs to talk. And I let him. I was like, I didn't bring up my folks. And he loved my parents. And I go, he needs to do it. And I brought nothing on my end, because it's like, this guy needs to talk about this, about his problems. And he's chosen me to listen to it. And so sometimes you got to realize that too, is that of the people that you think are there for you, you need to be there for them too. You know? It goes both ways. It really does. And if you keep those doors open, I mean, you really can help each other. You feel better, And so I kept my mouth shut and I listened to them.
Well, that's sometimes the best thing to do is shut up and listen.
That's right.
Because too often, we start a conversation like that and you're not really listening to what the other person is saying. You're just waiting for space to talk.
You're already thinking of your next comment before they're done making their point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would have been easy and this is going to sound maybe shallow, but it was like, my parents murder-suicide, and Brett's mom died unexpectedly, but natural causes somewhat. And it's like, these are two very different animals and two different sets of things that we're both going through. It's just as traumatic for Brett as it was for me. He still lost a parent, and he was still upset. And though he's the smartest guy I've ever met and the hardest working dude and successful, he still needed that.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes you think you put people on this pedestal and you think, he doesn't need help. He's got his shit together. And then you realize that they do.
Need it more than most sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll put it like this. Being a dad and having dogs all your life. Well, unfortunately, when a dog's time to go, who gets to take it to the vet? Dad does. You know what? Everybody's sad. Dad's sad too, but he can't show it. I think maybe that's why we're built this way. It's like we want to internalize it. You want to be strong. But then there's people that in my life that I look up to, and I'm like, how could they ever have a problem? They've got to figure it out. And then you realize, no, they need the same help you do. And there's been so many people mentors of yours, maybe people that you've looked up to, maybe they're hurting too. It's like they look to you,
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget that there's a ripple effect, like you said. That's good, and that this action just didn't kill you; it hurts everybody.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot. I mean, I hate to say it, but getting old, it's like I'm still learning. It's like you never get it figured out.
Well, if you stop learning, then you're done.
That's right.
So
that's exactly right. But so I've went through a couple things in the last decade that have been less than positive, but I feel like I'm improved as a human. I wish a lot of these things didn't happen, but hey, that's everybody's life, So, but I learned, and that was a big deal to me, And I'm still learning, and he proved it, I honestly I can't promote this enough. I want him to feel good about that.
He's gonna take it. It's gonna be in his head later.
That's true.
We got to hear about it for the next.
But I'm gonna walk out here. You guys
episodes.
got to deal with it. It's not my problem.
I was gonna offer Rich my spot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What would I get in return?
Hang out with Jeremy.
Oh, that is pretty good. But
I mean, it's a win all the way around for me.
It's everybody wins. But there's at my station.
He said that with such confidence.
Yeah. But there's a problem with my station. It's such a huge problem. They can't fit an ambulance in there. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it time, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll make it work.
I'll be gone by then. Who knows?
All right, man. Well, I'm all tangled up here. Dude, thanks for coming and sharing.
Hey.
I appreciate it.
Honestly,
so much.
and I want to be clear, is honestly, when you asked me, Jeremy, it was a compliment. I'm glad. It did help. And who knows? Maybe some stupid shit that one of us four said will sink into somebody else. You never know. Maybe we were talking about Star Wars at the time, and a sentence flew out, and the guy's like, I can apply that. Yeah. I can use that. You never know. That's why I've always said you got to be open, because you never know what somebody's going to say. And like I hate to keep doing it, but he said it today. You never. And if you didn't invite me, I'd have never known.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd walk around 3 more years, 5 more years.
Yeah.
Never know.
Well, dude, I mean, that's the whole point of the podcast is, get people talking, share experiences, and then, you never know who you're going to be able to help.
Right.
Like you said, say that one sentence
that
touches somebody.
It did.
Or makes them change their perspective a little bit or think about things a little bit different. Say, okay, remove the stigma a little bit. Hey, I can ask for help.
That's right. That's right.
I don't have to do this whole I'm a damaged hero and suffer in silence and all this fucking Hollywood bullshit.
And be the
Yeah. So, that's the whole point of the podcast. And I got asked that the other day. Well, what are you trying to achieve with this? Well, this is it.
Yeah.
Raise awareness. Help keep people from going down the path that I went down, that he went down, that Chris went down. Remove the stigma.
That's right. And I agree. And, it's funny is that when I was driving up here, I tried to put myself in the mindset of what I think I was going to say. And I ended up saying more or not enough, maybe, I don't know. But I was like this. People who know me know I joke around. I like to bust balls. We've worked together. I never mean any harm by anything. It's always happy-go-lucky, stuff like that. But I was like, that's my personality, and that's who I am. But this is serious, and I was like, I got to put that stuff aside and really be open. And because if it's going to be effective, it's like no half measures. You got to go. You got to do this. You know? And I was like, that's what I had to do, and so that's what I did. It's like I want to be open. It's like these are the events that happened. This is the way I handle it. These are the mistakes I made. These are the positive things that came from it. You know? So,
dude, we appreciate it.
I appreciate it. It is a compliment, and thank you guys for having me.
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming by.
So, everybody, like we end every episode, if you are struggling, reach out for help. There are resources out there. If you know somebody who is struggling, you've got a friend, a coworker, whatever, just like we talked about all day today, don't be afraid to reach out to them, because you never know how that's going to affect. So, thanks for stopping by.